Okay, there's not going to be any big fanfare on this one. We're just going to get to it real quick. So the weekend fights. Luis Ortiz, he knocked out his opponent. Uh, Darrell Cunningham won his fight. Um, the other heavyweight, Frank Sanchez, he also stopped his opponent. So I think most of the TGB promotions card, the guys stopped their opponents. So let me talk really quickly about the fight that you guys really want to talk about, and everybody's been talking about it. I did do a stream, but I had to take down the stream because I had internet failure, and then in between that, I was actually working on a song, and I forgot that I was filming. But let's talk about Devin Haney versus Yurikas Gamboa one more time. So let me get into that real quick. Devin Haney versus Yurikas Gamboa. Basically, in that fight, Devin Haney dominated every single round. Yurikas Gamboa basically didn't score much of anything. One judge had it, I think, 119, 109 or something like that. And then the other two judges had 120, I think 108, something like that. So I think one judge gave actually Gamboa one round. Now this is different to when Tank fought Gamboa and also when Terrence Crawford fought Gamboa. Devin Haney's a different kind of fighter. Now, initially, Devin Haney. Now, I was somewhat disappointed that Devin Haney didn't get Gamboa out of there, but I'm watching the fight, these pieces of it. I understood why. Let me explain to you what Devin Haney should have done that he didn't do. The thing that he should have done, he didn't do, was he didn't work the body enough of Gamboa. You know, he started off jabbing to the body early in the fight, but then later on in the fight, he went headhunted. And he was trying to land some money punches and get Gamboa out of there. And Gamboa is not a guy you can just land money punches on and you get him out of there. In fact, Gamboa has never been knocked out cold. He's been stopped several times, but every time he gets back up on his feet. Gamboa's a very tough guy. So, and then the other thing about this fight was that Gamboa himself looked bigger than he usually is. That is, he put on like extra pounds for this fight so he could take a punch better and probably throw a punch better. The reason Gamboa couldn't really do what he wanted to do is because Devin Haney was so skilled and boxing him from the outside, and he would not let Gamboa close the gap, close the distance, using his jab and several other things, lead right hand, etc., to keep Gamboa at bay at the distance he wanted him at. And then, of course, Gamboa was clinching up at certain points in time, and Devin Haney couldn't free himself up to really land those shots on Gamboa. But by and large, I think the problem, and I think Coach Calvin pretty much summed it up best. I think that Devin Haney didn't work the body enough with Gamboa. You know, he abandoned it a little later on and was going for money punches. And you can't get Gamboa out of there with just money punches. And Devin Haney's not really a one-punch hitter quitter. He's a very sharp puncher. He could take you out by wearing you down, beating you down, which is worse than getting knocked out cold, to be honest with you. But he's not a one-hitter quitter. I thought he looked very, very sharp in this fight. He didn't look sloppy at all. I listened to all the other people out there and their comments about Devin Haney. You know, there was, from fellow lightweights, Teofimo Lopez saying that, he's still undisputed. He thought that Devin Haney did. he threw insult at him, saying he was like the mailman champion or the male champion performance. I thought it was a very, very good performance, excellent performance, but I expected Devin Haney to stop Gamboa. But Gamboa is not really a guy that's stopped very easily. So, I mean, what Tank did, dropping him about 3 times, I think it was 4 times in the fight, was exceptional. Okay? What Terrence Crawford did when Gamboa just came to the division was not as impressive as what Tank actually did. And I'm going to explain to you guys what I mean. One, Terrence Crawford was a bona fide lightweight, a very big lightweight. Gamboa was coming up in weight in that division. He had 1 fight, I think, or 2 fights at lightweight at that time. And he had just beaten Dolly Perez, I think it is, for the interim belt, the WBO belt or something like that. WBCW, I can't remember which one. And so he challenged Terrence Crawford, right? He was supposed to have faced Mikey Garcia. I think it was a super featherweight. I can't remember what he did. So at the end of the day, Gamboa Gamboa faced a much bigger guy in Terrence Crawford, much established guy at Terrence Crawford, who was the champion at the time. And he still gave Terrence Crawford hell. He actually had Terrence Crawford hurt a couple times in that fight. And then later on, Terrence Crawford got onto him, and by switch hitting, he was able to catch Gamboa with, I think it was a check. I can't remember if it was a left hook or check right hook, but he really put leverage into the hook, by the way. And I think that was it for Gamboa. He was kept on getting knocked down all the time. With respect to Gervonta Davis, why I said Gervonta Davis's win over Gamboa was very exceptional because Gervonta Davis was really unleashing a lot of power. And remember, Gervonta Davis, unlike Gamboa, was at lightweight. Now, he had been an established lightweight. He had several lightweight fights. So when Gervonta Davis actually faced Gamboa, he was a smaller guy, the super featherweight, coming up in weight to face Gervonta Davis, Gamboa, and he actually dropped Gamboa multiple times in that fight. He didn't get rid of him, but he dropped him. And Gamboa showed how durable he was. And I was thinking at the time that Gervonta Davis, he wasn't really a full-fledged lightweight. So I was looking to see what Devin Haney would do to Gamboa. Of course, Gamboa had gotten his leg damaged in that fight in the second round after he got dropped. And so, you have to figure out in that equation, okay, well, Gamboa got dropped. And he hurt his leg. Of course, Gervonta Davis was responsible for his leg getting hurt anyway. But he was able to make it to 12 rounds and clinch and do all kinds of veteran things, even though he was off balance. You could see his balance was off. But with respect to Devin Haney couldn't drop Gamboa. He can rock him. He can drop him. So a lot of people are saying, well, Devin Haney has no power. I'm not saying Devin Haney has no power. That's ridiculous. I wouldn't say something like that. He has power. I just think that he doesn't have one hitter power like Rolly Romero, who was really criticizing him and saying he don't got no power. Trust me, that means absolutely nothing. Just because he's not a hitter quitter doesn't mean he can't beat your ass, Rolly. And the last guy didn't have power either, and he beat you. So but I would say that Devin is a guy that's really, you saw a lot more out of Devin, how clinical he is and how skillful he is with his check hooks and stuff. But my thing with Devin is Devin should have worked the body some more. He should have worked the body. He didn't break down Gamboa enough. He also threw punches, but he was more pot shot, and then he would throw his combinations. And he needed to throw a little bit more combinations in his fight with Gamboa. But other than that, I think very nice performance by Devin Haney. He didn't get touched. He did not get touched. And that's impressive. Okay. He didn't stop Gamboa. I was expecting him to stop Gamboa. But he didn't get touched. And Terrence Crawford got touched up, and Gervonta Davis got touched up. And even in the last fight Gervonta Davis had, he got touched up. The last fight Terrence Crawford had, he got dropped. Devin Haney definitely had a squeaky clean performance, excellent performance, boxing clinic on Gamboa of all people. And so that was very impressive. However, kudos to Gamboa. Gamboa actually, even though he wasn't able to mount his offense because Devin Haney was so long and tall, besides surviving in there, he also showed certain things, certain veteran moves that really showed me that he still could do something in the division. And I hope he gets another fight. I hope they give him another shot because he's impressing me. He's not only durable, but he's also a guy that he wasn't able to do what he needed to do against Devin Haney because Devin Haney was keeping him in check. Unlike Terrence Crawford, who was longer than him, and he still caught Terrence Crawford because Terrence Crawford, takes risks and he engages sometimes when he shouldn't. Devin Haney, on the other hand, is just quick-footed and really can maintain range and distance. So when Gamboa tried to get in there, Devin Haney was quick to get back and maintain that range. So you got to give Devin Haney that, but he has to learn. Devin Haney has to work more on his inside game. There's a lot of things that Devin Haney needs to do still. His defense, though, out of all, what performance Devin Haney reminded me of? Shakur Stevenson. He had a Shakur Stevenson-like performance. He was like Shakur. He couldn't be touched. He wasn't touched even for a single round. He wasn't touched. And Shakur is a kind of fighter like that. And Devin versus Shakur would be very interesting, But and Shakur's working on the inside game now, and I hope Devin works on his inside game. He can't just be trying to outbox a guy all the time. But beautiful, flawless performance when it comes to boxing on the outside, and again, taking what's available to you. As some people said, Floyd Mayweather like performance in terms of the older Floyd, who was knocking guys out. But we'll see what happens with Devin Haney. But for those people hypercritical of Devin Haney's performance, I wouldn't do that. If he was getting hit, if he was getting hit, then that would be totally different. I look forward to Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez at lightweight. If Devin Haney can't get Teofimo Lopez, maybe Javante Davis. I saw them drawing with each other, going back and forth. If not Javante Davis, maybe Ryan Garcia. But one of those guys, I hope he gets them. And I hope they fight at lightweight. I hope Teofimo Lopez takes on his first test, which would be Devin Haney. I think Teofimo Lopez should face Devin Haney next. I think that's a fight that Teofimo Lopez, at least offensively, if he throws more punches, because he's also a pot shotter. He's also a guy that picks guys apart. They're a similar kind of fighter. But to see the two of them going in the ring at each other would be very, very interesting. I would love to see that. And how much money I would pay for that. That's a pay-per-view fight for sure. That could be Teofimo Lopez's first pay-per-view. That would be a big fight because Devin Haney's a champion and Teofimo Lopez is a unified champion. So that's a nice, great clash right there. Devin Haney looking to make a fight with Teofimo Lopez. Bob Arum needs to get out of the way of those negotiations. Teofimo Lopez needs to demand that he gets Devin Haney and his father for that fight to happen. It's an uphill battle if Teofimo Lopez it's an uphill battle if Teofimo Lopez wants it and Devin Haney wants it. They should get it. Listen, these guys are not afraid to lose. These guys want to get that competition. They want to raise their game, and the only way is to compete against each other. And guys who are in track meets, they run against each other all the time. And I truly want to see Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez. Now, a lot of people think that Devin Haney would automatically win that fight. I can't say that. I absolutely can't say that. I will never say that. As much as I wouldn't say Teofimo Lopez would automatically win that fight. That's a fight I have to sit down and watch because both guys are smart fighters. Both guys, have their pluses. Teofimo Lopez brings power, he brings strategy, he brings game plan. Devin Haney, he brings skill, he brings defense, at least from long range. A very interesting fight. And it reminds me a little bit of when Shakur Stevenson, once he moves up in weight and he comes to face the lightweights, Shakur is going to really be something to deal with. You know what I mean? And you can see Shakur wants those fights. He wanted Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez don't want him. A lot of people are going to duck these fighters because these guys, that's why I say mix it up right now with each other and see what can happen. And then go after the other guys. The other guys, whoever the winner or, loser or whatever, go after other guys, deal with them, and then come back and face each other again because they're going to face each other multiple times. If they allow themselves to face each other multiple times, it would be great. And the pros, Now, Keith Thurman would say, I have an O and I'm not afraid to let it go. I mean, shit. Sometimes you just gotta, because it's all about resume. Fine, just get the fights going. That's what people want to see. And of course, a lot of people are going to say, well, that fight might make a lot of money. Oh, it will. Oh, it will once promoted correctly. Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez is going to make money. Definitely. That's something hardcore fans will love. Get everybody excited about it. Get everybody riled up about it. And get some more pay-per-view. Another pay-per-view model right now in 2020 is not doing that great. But by next year, it should be fantastic. Seeing Canelo go after Caleb Plant, that would be extraordinary. Because by and large, Caleb Plant is probably the most promising fighter out there right now. Caleb Plant, I rate Caleb Plant ahead of guys like Callum Smith and Jose and David Benavidez. I rate him at a 168 pounder. I think he's the best 168 pounder out there. Aside from Billy Joe Saunders, who's got a lot more experience. That's the only reason. Canelo was going to face Billy Joe Saunders. So Canelo's picking the best, the very best. And I can't wait for that fight between Canelo and Caleb Plant. And I don't care who wins, because I see Caleb Plant being capable of beating Canelo. I think experience might play a major key in that fight. But other than that, I think Caleb Plant's the next. So it doesn't matter whether he gets it undefeated or not. That's great experience. And I think a lot of these people out there needs to understand that it's not about being like Floyd Mayweather, undefeated. Floyd Mayweather was undefeated, but he faced everybody. You know what I mean? He was calling out folk, and folk wasn't wanting to fight him. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people focus on the old too much, and they're trying to be Floyd Mayweather, but they don't have a resume. They have no resume. I know these guys are super young, therefore they don't really need to mix and match up with each other right now. So that's really up to them. But ultimately, in the end, it's not just about being undefeated. Okay, that's great if you can be undefeated after mixing and matching up. But even Floyd in the early games, after he faced Gennaro Hernandez, the next thing he clashed with was Diego Corrales, right? And Angel Manfredi. Angel Manfredi said was something, and he was something. But then it was Diego Corrales, right? So early in the game, Floyd was being matched tough. Then it was Jose Luis Castillo, it was Jesus Chavez, but they were contenders. So I don't want to talk about them too much. But Jesus Chavez and Carlos Hernandez, they later became world champions. And then we had Jose Luis Castillo, right? So I'm just saying, early in a guy's career, he should be matching tough and seeing if he can get past those hurdles, because that when you get matched tough, that's what will determine how you proceed later on in your career. Sometimes you get matched tough and you lose the fights, right? You lose 1 or 2 fights. It's okay. But that just means you're not really there yet where you want to be, and you just work at it. So, in the boxing game, I think a lot of people try to focus on the O, and the focus is not the O. Floyd managed to have an O at the end of his career, but that's not the thing. The thing is, are you facing the best fights, and you prepared the best way you know how for those fights? You should be, especially early in your career, you should be eager to face the best. Anyway, I'm what you need. I'll catch you guys later. That's the weekend fight for you. We could discuss this a little bit later, but I think the next for Devin Haney is Teofimo Lopez. I don't know if Teofimo Lopez feels the same way. He may be looking at many other options. It's what it is. We know Tank's not looking to face Teo next. He's looking to have another fight, probably Ryan Garcia. So if Tank and Ryan Garcia are occupied, the next best thing at lightweight is Teo and Haney. I'm going to catch you guys later. I'm what you need. Peace.